Our next committee of the day is the Parks and Recreation Committee. Those committee members are Connor, Lombardo, Hardy, Hannah, and Boyes. We have all committee members present except for Councilman Lombardo and Councilman Hannah, but you do have a quorum whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. We have no old legislation coming before us. We have two new items. Item number 12 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids, requesting and receiving requests for proposals or RFPs, and or requesting and receiving quotes to resurface the courts at Ohio and Erie and Canal Park for basketball and pickleball and declaring an emergency. Ms. Tomek?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. As you had stated, this piece of legislation is authorizing the resurfacing of 3 courts at the Ohio and Erie Canal, formerly known as Park East, for basketball and pickleball courts. Funding will come from the 2024 capital budget, which allocated $250,000 for court resurfacing. This will permanently stripe 1 court for basketball and convert the remaining 2 courts into 4 permanent pickleball courts. The proposed design was reviewed and approved by the Ohio and Erie Canal Park Steering Committee, the Ohio and Erie Canal Coalition, Alpha Phi Alpha Homes, and Councilwoman Somerville. We anticipate all of the work to begin and to be completed this summer, and we respectfully request consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any comments or questions from fellow committee members?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question, and this is may not seem relevant, but I'm curious, what type of material is used on the pickleball courts and basketball court? Are they concrete?
I believe it's asphalt, but I will have to ask Mr. Ashley, who could not be here with us today. It's asphalt.
It's asphalt? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I have a question. I was speaking to someone recently, and they said when the courts were put in at Joy Park, they got the courts, but they didn't get pickleball equipment. Does equipment come with this?
Just the netting, but I can get back with Mr. Ashley and get back to you by that by next week.
Because with no paddles and balls, it's not usable. So that was my concern.
So the netting is, I'm pretty sure netting is provided, but we'll check on the
Thank you.
other equipment.
Any other questions or comments? May I have a motion for, did you have something? No. Okay. May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
If we were to do that,
Any opposed? Thank you so much. And now, let me do this again, I'm sorry. Item number 13 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Tom Todd Ideas for a partnership with the City of Akron in the Creative Akron Summer Program for 2024 and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lash.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of council. I'm proud to bring this piece of legislation before you. This is related to our summer program, youth program, and I actually have Brittany Smokel, our Recreation Bureau Manager, and a guest from Tom Todd, and I'm going to ask them to just give a few more details and answer any additional questions that any of you may have.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. We have partnered with Tom Todd since 2020, and we have held camps virtually and at Summit Lake Community Center. And this year they would like to host 4 weeks of camps at 2 different locations, at Summit Lake Community Center and at the Vincent House. And by doing 4 weeks of camp, we will increase the amount of children served to up to 120. The camps are free. They serve middle school students from ages 10 to 14. Now, the camps align with the Akron Public Schools Summer Career Pathway experiences and will continue to have a strong focus on entrepreneurship and the arts. And through these week-long camps, the kids will experience a variety of field trips. They will have learning sessions, meetings with community leaders, and they work on brainstorming sessions for campers to design and pitch ideas, collaborative solutions for their community. Tom Todd is one of the organizations in the Youth Success Summit that is focusing on out-of-school time programming. And with these two locations, we will be serving Northeast residents and Southwest residents, but previous registration has shown that they serve kids all throughout the Akron neighborhoods. Do you have any further questions?
Are there any questions from committee members?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Like, they serve what kids in what neighborhoods, but you said generally, though, all of Akron.
Yes, they've done a map where they're showing where the kids that are registering, where they're coming from, and they're serving all of Akron.
And the word gets out through Akron Public Schools, like flyers or something like that?
It does, and Tom Todd has a wonderful marketing campaign as well, and we push it on our end too.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, Madam Chair, with that, we are presenting that before you. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to ask. But this is our summer youth program.
I just have a comment. I've been at all of the Tom Todds since they started. It's a wonderful program, and I'm delighted to see that you're doing 2 locations. Summit Lake is always a good location, but it's nice to see something more on the east side. A lot of those parents may not have transportation to get back and forth to Summit Lake, so I'm really grateful to see you coming. I'm in 2 separate locations, and if there's anything I can do, of course, shout.
Thank you.
What's your pleasure? Suspension of the rules? Consent? What would you like?
Suspension of rules is fine.
May I have a motion for suspension of the rules?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any? The ayes have it. With that, we are adjourned.
Before you adjourn, you do have minutes from the March 18th
I'm sorry.
meeting. Could you?
May we have a motion to pass the minutes?
I'll make a motion to pass the last meeting's minutes.
I will second.
Minutes are passed. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.
Our next committee will be the Rules Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Those committee members are McKittrick, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Davis. Again, that's the Rules Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Our next committee of the day is the Rules Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Davis. We have all committee members present except for Councilwoman Davis. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Could I get a motion? Motion. Pass the.
So moved.
Second.
Any guess? Okay. Okay, we have one piece. Are we ready?
Did we vote on the piece? The minutes, I'm sorry.
Okay, Sarah. I'm with my. Could you read in that piece for us, please?
Sure can. Councilwoman Amobian, we're getting a lot of echo, so if you could stay muted unless you're actively speaking, that would help. We have a resolution approving and confirming the appointment of Hannah Lore Gambrell and the reappointment of Gina K. Maddox as members of the Akron Civil Rights Commission and declaring an emergency. And for the record, Councilwoman Davis is joining us.
Okay. Let the record reflect that we do have Councilwoman Davis with us. And Ms. Pitt, are you presenting?
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Chairman
Thank
and
you.
members of the committee. So the Akron Civil Rights Commission, as you know, is core to the city and for these important matters. Gina K. Maddox has served in good standing as a member of the commission since October of 2018. Her term actually expired a couple of years ago, and we would like to make sure that she is reappointed. She is willing to serve and is actually serving currently as the vice president of the commission, so we'd like to have her continue on. And Hannah Lore Gambrell is a local attorney who is a founding and managing partner of her own law firm. It is helpful while the commission is meant to be and was intended to be a citizen-led and sort of for the citizens, by the citizens, it is helpful to have attorneys serve on the commission. And so chairperson or president of the commission, Ellen Nisht, brought this recommendation with the support of the commission for Hannah Lore Gambrell's nomination and appointment.
Okay, thank you very much. We have any questions from any committee members? Mr. Fusco?
Yes, thank you. And forgive me, the new member is from where? Which ward? And I'd just like to find out where all the wards are for representation purposes.
Correct. The new member lives on Westwood Avenue in Akron. I am not sure of which ward
Okay.
that is. Let me look and see if it was in the...
We could find out.
I can confirm that.
I think it's Ward 4.
Ward 4,
Very good. And then the other members, where they're located?
the current members.
Yes, please.
I will confirm that with you and members of the committee after the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee members have any questions? Any council members? Okay, committee would like to, I'd like to get a motion for time for this, so we could give at least 1 week for the members to be able to look at this and then bring it back in. if that's
Absolutely,
okay.
thank you.
Can I get a motion for? I'll make that motion. In a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, all right. There's nothing else to come before rules. We'll be adjourned.
Our next committee is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Hardy, and Lombardo. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I'd like to move forward and call the public service meeting to order, please. Can I get approval of the minutes from our last meeting, please?
Motion to approve previous minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the minutes. All in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We have a few new pieces in front of us today, and since I'm not in council chambers, I was going to ask if Sarah could read in each piece, please.
Sure. Item number 5 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee, without the formality of publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract with the Schindler Elevator for the emergency repair of one elevator in the Harold K. Stubbs Building and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. And I do see we have our service director, Chris Luttle, with us. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. We've talked about these elevators a few times. As this council did pass legislation last year, we replaced all the door mechanisms, which took care of a lot of the problems. Well, on car 2 recently, which is one of the front elevators, it's going to be in need of recabling. We had a cable malfunction, and the elevator went up past the stops on the top floor and damaged the counterweights. So this piece of legislation before you is to recable car number 2 and to make the repairs to the counterweights. With that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Committee members, any questions or comments? Please raise your hand. I see Councilman Lombardo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it's really just a comment. I think that it just seems like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place with this building and the necessity for an elevator because it has 5 floors, 6 floors?
10.
10? Okay. Yeah, well, but anyhow, this is something that needs to be done. I mean, I support it, but as your opening comments have said, this is just seems to be constant with one elevator or another.
And as the mayor said, by the end of June, we'll have a decision on the future of the police station. So
right,
but that will not happen. Obviously, they're still going to be in there one way or another for the next few years. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? Chris, what is your pleasure on this one?
Sir, can we suspend the rules? We're waiting on a PO for Schindler to get moving on this repairs.
Sure,
Motion
committee.
for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to the next one, Sarah.
Item number 6 is an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of advertising for bids with Gray Matter Systems for the purchase of a GEI Fix Global Care Complete Software Support Package for the Water Supply and Wastewater Bureaus and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. This is ongoing support of our SCADA system for not only water supply, but also wastewater, WRF. We monitor everything from tank levels to pump runs, chemical feeds. In WRF, it's our basins. This controls our whole system. So this is continuing support with our computer system. SCADA, as we call it, is the supervisor controlled and data acquisition. We've talked about this previously. We have done this every year. This is a one-year agreement. One thing we are going to do, sir, is go back to them and since this is sole source and see if we can reduce this cost over a 3-year program. So, but this will carry us through till next year, this one-year program. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Committee members, anything for Chris Luttle? No. Chris, what's your pleasure on this one?
Consent's fine, sir.
Okay.
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Next piece, Sarah, please.
Item number 7 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids to install 5 miles of water main and over 200 services as part of the Portage Lakes Water Main Extension Project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Currently, our 12-inch water main ends on Turkey Foot Lake Road, right by Rose's Villa Inn. This water main extension will take it south all the way down to the Coventry Corp line, and then it will feed that whole neighborhood on both east and west of South Turkey Foot. This is as far south as we can go with our Great Lakes pack. So as you know, once you get down the Corp line, to the west is New Franklin, and to the east is City of Green. On this project, there's 350 properties abutting these new water mains that we are going to be installing. This project was brought to our attention by Ohio EPA about a year and 3 months ago. There was some news coverage back in January. Channel 8 did a story, and so did Akron Beacon Journal, about these customers, or these residents. Their wells were drying up, where they had no water at all. Some were actually pumping water out of the lake to just use their facilities, flush their toilets. So we got involved, and what we did, we applied for a grant through a WSRLA loan, which is principal forgiveness. This is about a $7 million project. We haven't bid it yet, but half of this loan, or 2.7 of this project, will be funded by Ohio EPA. The rest of this project will be funded by tap-in fees by the residents. So we currently have 196 as of last week that have signed up. They will pay about just under $10,000 a piece, and this will not only install the water main, it will install the service into their home. They'll become a new water customer. So this project will be paid by the principal forgiveness through the loan program, and then we will obtain a 30-year loan at 0% interest, and then we will collect these tap-in fees and then pay down the debt service over 30 years. So this is, and traditionally when we've done these programs, as I said, 350 properties, and we have 196. As we start construction, we anticipate getting another 50 to 75 people sign up. So we've done numerous public meetings down there in Coventry. It's been well received because we're going to help them to stay in their home. This isn't any new construction. It's so landlocked down there. So it's not like we are promoting new construction in Portage Lakes. This are all existing properties that have structures on them. So with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Committee members, I see Councilman McKittrick, please.
Not really a question, but I know this has been a problem for some time. I knew some people that lived on East Pace there.
That's one of those.
And in some of those homes there, actually, there were up to 3 homes on one well.
Correct.
And when somebody else was using in one house, or if all 3 were using, you weren't able to wash clothes, take a shower, et cetera. So this is really something that's desperately needed in that area. So just happy this has come into fruition to be able to help them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman DeShazer.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, when you put in the pipe these days, that 5 miles, what's the composition of the pipe that's being used?
Well, as always, Councilman, if this is our system, and obviously we're going to own on this, it's ductile iron. We do not allow plastic. We never have, and it makes the project a little more expensive. But when you've been doing the same thing for over 100 years, we are going to continue with that. And it'll be copper from the street. A lot of this will be directional drilled, kind of like our contractors are doing currently into our own residential homes, replacing the galvanized or lead services. So if you ever drive down there, you're thinking, wow. And I think Councilman McKittrick's familiar with that area, but you have a lot of elevation changes, houses behind houses. It's like, this is not going to be an easy project to do, but it is good, to answer your question, to be ductile iron pipe.
Well, that's good to hear. Consistency.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes.
Anyone else? I do got a question, Chris. You did mention this is the furthest that we can go. Can you elaborate?
Well, with the Great Lake Pact, we're in the Lake Erie Basin. This was a 7-governor pact that was signed years ago. And so you can't take water over the Continental Divide without, so we do have this is obviously south of the divide, but we have to bring back through the canal so much water. So we are allowed to go that far south, but we can't go any farther, unfortunately. Actually, people don't even know it, but part of the neighborhood of Kenmore, the Continental Divide kind of runs through part of that. So, there's parts of Kenmore that are in the Tuscarora's water, or the Ohio River watershed, but obviously, we still serve them.
Got you. Thank you.
Councilman, I had a question. Are we still repaying water through by Nesbitt Lake back to us onto the?
Through the canal, yes. It's controlled by ODNR, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't see anyone. Chris, what would you like on this one?
Consent's fine.
Motion for
Committee?
consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. I think we'll go into our last piece. Sarah, if you could read that in.
Item number 8 is a resolution opposing Dominion Energy Ohio's proposed 30% rate increase and requesting that the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio deny Dominion Energy Ohio's request for the same and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. I would like to say I really appreciate the presentation we had a few weeks ago. So I'm really glad that these folks came down to City Council to speak. I know Sharon Connor was adamant about bringing this in, so I'm hoping she can add her name if she wants, and then hopefully it'll pass council as a whole. Chris, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, that pretty much touched on everything. Thank you, Councilman, and thank you, Councilwoman. They did reach out to us, and they did give the presentation on March 25th about the new PUCO rate increase, and obviously, for those that didn't hear their presentation, what Dominion's going to do on your bill, it's going to go from the basic service charge from 43 to 56. So no matter if you use very little or a lot of gas that month, it's going to start out at $56 a month, which is going to really negatively impact our residents and our big customers, commercial too. So we are doing something with Akron Energy because obviously we use a lot of gas for our district energy system for the two hospitals, the two major hospitals. So we are doing something to obviously oppose this rate increase, but that is, that's basically it. I can answer any questions that you may have, but I thank you for your support.
Thank you, Chris. Committee members, anything? Sarah, if you don't mind, if it's possible, can you resend out that information that you sent out a few weeks ago? It was really important and some good information. I'd appreciate it if you could resend that, just because obviously I'm hoping we pass this as suspension of the rules today, but hopefully if any council members did not receive that, they can get that today.
Sure.
Thank you. I don't see any council members with hands up or anything like that, so I'll leave it up to the committee.
Motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
Thank you. Committee's report is suspension of the rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone. I believe that is it for today. We are adjourned.
Our next committee today will be the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hanna, and Davis. We have all committee members present except for Councilman Hanna. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order. If I could get a motion to accept the previous minutes?
I'll make that motion. Accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. We have three pieces to come before us today. Number 9, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for, accept, and expend an award from the State of Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services under the State of Ohio Violent Crime Reduction Grant Program and declaring an emergency. Captain McCosey.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. This is a request for authorization to make an application for the grant program. It is an Ohio Criminal Justice Services grant, and it is competitive. So we don't know whether we will be awarded this grant. However, if we are, our plan is to purchase a couple of drones, some other technology for our crime scene unit, some pole cameras, and then a considerable amount of overtime money for our people to do outreach. And this is really geared toward our strategy of reducing violent crime and getting there first and trying to get there before these things happen. So that's what all the spending is there for. There is a community collaboration there with the folks at Dinner and a Fight, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and with Fallen Fathers, to be a part of their events and to have them work with us to help us understand how best to reach the community and reach the people that are most involved and that are most affected by the violent crime there. So that's the request is for authorization to go ahead and make that grant application.
Okay, thank you. We have any questions from any committee members? Any other council members? Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Captain McCosy, so we're applying for a grant for around $394,000?
That's correct.
$394,000?
The total amount of the grant is, I'm sorry about that, $394,698. That's the total that our estimate is for the grant application. Yes.
And it's competitive, and
It is
do we know the
competitive.
results?
It's ambitious.
2 months, 5 months?
Well, we do expect that probably not till fall that we'll hear. It is hard to say. It's not our timeline, so it's hard to say when we will get a response.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman. Any other council members have any questions? What's your pleasure, sir?
Consent agenda is fine.
Okay, can I get a motion for consent, please?
I'll make the motion for consent.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, we have another piece here. Number 10 is ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without publicly advertising for bids with Akron Enterprises, Inc. for body-worn camera equipment, licensing, data storage, and other service, and declaring an emergency. Captain McCosy, sorry, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is to approve a contract with Axon. It is a 3-year contract, so it will expire alongside the rest of our contracts, and our desire then is to roll everything into one as much as possible. This is made necessary by the new hiring. We did hire a class of 48 officers that began early this year. They're in the academy now, and they'll be graduating in August. At this time, we don't have enough body cameras to put one on every one of them. We do expect some retirements to happen between now and then afterward. It's hard to say exactly when those are going to happen, and most of the officers that are going to retire do not have cameras. They're detectives and senior staff people. So in order to make sure that every one of our officers, as they graduate, they have a body camera assigned to them when they hit the road, that's what this contract will make sure that we can do.
Thanks, Captain. Quick question. With these, I'm sure they vary because of use and so on, but approximate usage that we get out of these as far as period of time before they need to be retired or?
Well, as a part of our contract, we get the most up-to-date equipment. More often than not, the biggest problem we have is that the batteries start to fail, not fail completely, but degrade over time. And so that is the biggest problem that we have with the cameras. However, on a 3 to 5 year rotation, the camera equipment is actually traded off with Axon. They bring in new cameras and they take back the old ones. So this allows us to make sure they have the most up-to-date equipment. It works, and it serves the officers when they're out there serving the public.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that. Any questions from any committee members? Mr. Fusco.
Yes, sir. Just curious in terms of, have you, has the department ever measured the costs per officer for the body camera, and compared that to other departments of like size?
We've never actually done an analysis alongside other departments. We look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
And how much does it cost us? The cameras are about $3,500 per officer.
Gotcha.
And
course.
tasers are a little bit less, but yeah.
But the storage and all that, it'd be interesting perhaps to see that, just, and I do know, and for some of the newer members, we were in the forefront of this early on, I recall. Yeah. And we had truly one of the first ones in Ohio to lead this effort. So, well done.
Thanks, Councilman. Any other committee members or council members have any questions at all? Okay, Captain, what's your pleasure?
Consent is fine on this.
Okay, can I get a motion for consent?
I'll make the motion for consent.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll get that out tonight. Okay, and our final piece, number 11 here, is ordinance authorizing the mayor or its designee without the formality of public advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Axon Enterprise for a contract renewal for tasers and taser-related equipment and declaring an emergency. Captain McCosy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Similar to the previous submission, this is for additional equipment for our new officers that are in the academy. In moving through our inventory and making sure that we have enough for everyone, we need 20 more tasers. This will put those 20 more tasers on a contract for the remaining 3 years. And this will allow us to make sure that when they graduate, they will have a taser and be equipped with that taser when they hit the road.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I'm assuming with the new class that's presently in the academy right now, that's part of the training with the tasers and so on?
It is, sir. It's part of the basic academy. We run them all through taser. It's not part of the state curriculum. It's actually a separate part of the basic academy curriculum. And before they leave and before they hit the road, they're all certified and equipped with the taser and taser equipment.
Thanks very much for that. Any questions from any committee members? Any council members? What's your pleasure, sir?
Consent on this is fine, sir.
Okay, can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
And I'll second that. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that out. We have nothing else to come before public safety, and we will be adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee will be the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Fusco, Boys, and Hardy. Again, that's the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock.
So continuing on, like, remember that litter? Okay. So, and I know you said you got like 5 like that, so like.
Okay, it's 3 o'clock, and our next committee of the day is the Budget and Finance Committee. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Busco, Boys, and Hardy. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Welcome to our Budget and Finance Committee meeting. First off, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the last week's meeting minutes.
So move.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Any opposed? So minutes have been passed. We have one item coming before us, and that is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with G. Stevens Incorporated for the administration of the Akron ARPA Home Repair Program and declaring an emergency. And we have Mr. Wheeler speak on that?
Mr. Lash will be
Or
presenting on this.
Mr. Lash, okay, thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of council. This piece of legislation that we are bringing before you is related to the Akron Home Repair Program. The first phase of the program, we're actually bringing before you a contract extension with our partner subrecipient, G. Stevens, Inc. This will carry us through June the 15th. As of right now, we have 151 homes that have been completed. We still have about 141 homes that have been completed. We have 50 in process right now. Of the 155, or of the 191 units, 155 have been completed within the QCT 3, 4, 5, and 9. So we are actually just asking for this contract extension in the amount up to $600,000. We have additional information that we would like to share with you, and my colleague Sean Volman will share those details.
Yes, hi. So the original contract was $5 million, if you remember, and the idea at the time was that we would get 200 homes completed for that $5 million. Costs have been higher. I mean, I think throughout the whole pandemic, we've found that costs are higher for most things. Of that $5 million, $3.7 million were paid directly to the contractors working on the houses, and I believe it was 38 or 39% were inclusive minority contractors. Of that, there's $850,000 in additional programmatic costs, and then about $450,000, all subject to final audit, but about 9% of administrative costs for the contract. We will end up, as I said, we will end up with 191 completed homes, and we will end up with about another 70 or so that have been inspected, and we'll move on to our other partners to take the ball from there. So the expense was done already on those to inspect the properties, but the work itself will be done in phase 2.
Okay, thank you. I have a few questions. A lot of numbers, which is what I like. Just wanted to clarify something. First of all, 141 homes that are completed and 50 in process. But then you mentioned about the 70 homes.
So those have been inspected. So the process goes, they inspect a home, come up with a scope of work, and then bid it out. So the home has been inspected, the scopes exist, but the work still needs to be done. That's what those...
Okay, so when we budgeted for like 200 homes, which 141 and 50, 191, the 70 is in there or more than that?
Well, it ended up being more inspected. All of the 191 that have completed will have been inspected. So, I don't know that we were thinking about how many additional would be inspected from that initial 5 million, but the plan was to have 200 inspected and completed. In this case, it'll be about 250 that have been inspected and 191 that have been completed.
Okay, I got it now. Okay. And I realize, obviously, we all do with construction or any type of home improvement. You have a budget in mind, and once you get into the work, whether it's the roof or something, then you realize that wow, this is a little bit deeper than the initial, so I realize that. So, and then Mr. Lash mentioned all these homes were in the QCT, which means Qualified Census Tract, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Very good. So I might have a few more questions, but I'll let our committee answer or ask some questions. Councilwoman Boyce?
Thank you, Chair. Quick question about the 50. When we say they're in process, does that mean there's physical construction taking place on all 50 houses, or are they just in the queue to begin construction?
Based on my understanding, they are in the process of having various repairs, renovations done at the present moment.
Perfect, thank you.
Councilman Fusco.
Why, thank you. Been talking to more and more folks in the nonprofit sector as well as the development sector. And it seems as though we have a problem in our city. It's the region, and I think across the country, in terms of people who are qualified to do this kind of work. And so I can understand how, you know, this has been a higher hurdle than probably, you know, in the past. So, and I think that's something perhaps the administration may want to talk about moving forward in terms of developing those individuals earlier on. I know we have programs that are out there to teach people the electrical, the plumbing, roofing, all that. But we do have, if I understand correctly, and I'd like to have further discussion down the road on this, but I think, you know, we should evaluate like what that pipeline looks like and perhaps even beefing it up, because it seems as though that's part of the trouble, and even getting people to call you back if you're just a regular, you know, person trying to get reno to your house or your home or whatever. This is a problem, I think, in our town, and again, region and nationally from what I'm understanding. So I think that would be something to talk about moving forward.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And again, this legislation here, this is for an extension, $600,000 till June 15th, right? Correct. Okay, very good. I see Councilman Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just, more comments than questions, but as on the second floor when ARPA was passed and we were first conceptualizing of the home repair program, it is amazing to me to see where we are now, given all of the challenges that we couldn't have even anticipated at the beginning. And so I for example, like I think when we first started, we were thinking 25,000 a house. Well, no one anticipated the inflationary costs, just the incredible global crisis for materials that was going to come about. And so I'm not surprised to hear, Mr. Volman, that the average cost was way above what we had thought, or above, I shouldn't say way above, but above what we had tracks. But also we had such a commitment at the time to trying to bring in minority contractors and trying to come up with a way of organizing the work. We thought we might get a couple hundred applicants. We never thought there'd be over 1,000 in the city. And maybe that's on us. I'll take that on myself, to be honest, in terms of all of, I say all this to say, like, I welcome the administration's evolution on this, but I also want to just put out there how much I appreciate Glenn Stevens, Ward 8 resident, Akron resident, for taking on this task, and for Mr. Volman, the attention you've paid to it over the last year or two. And it has been a real challenge for many of the reasons that Mr. Fusco just articulated. We have a challenge in our community in the trades, a big one. And it's not just Akron. I'm seeing it come across my desk all the time, working community development practices across the country. There is a dearth of people in the trades. And so I say all this, I'm rambling now, so I'll be quiet, Mr. Chair, but I just want to say, like, I'm supportive of this. I know that we're moving on. That feels like a healthy pivot point, but I just want to thank Mr. Stevens and the integrated development team for just doing incredible work under the circumstances. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Very good. Well said. I mean, you're rambling, but no, we followed you, and you made some good points there. Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Mr. Lash, you'd like to say
Chair, if I
something?
could just speak to Councilman Hardy's point.
Sure.
We had probably initially northward of up to 1,800 applications initially, and to date, we have a 39% inclusion rate. When we talk about inclusion, throughout this program to date, we've had a 39% inclusion rate, which I think is a pretty good number to share with you all.
Okay, thank you.
Just to note.
Thank you. Councilwoman Mobian?
I don't have much to add other than the fact that over the months, I think we've talked about home repair and what it means for our community. We didn't think in terms of the infrastructure that needed to be built and those costs associated with kinds of things. The important thing is that I know that the Mr. Lash and Mr. Bowman and Mr. Luttle are planning to draft something and get it to the mayor so we can get information out to the citizens about what is going to happen next so that people can either know where they are or understand if they're going to be included. But that, we've talked about the fact that if we had perhaps listened to Mr. Tatum, I guess he was trying to slow us all down in terms of the project. But I think we all had good hearts and good minds and really thinking positively about what we could do for the community. And I think going forward, we will continue to do good work, but it won't be extensive as we originally thought. So I think it's important that we get something out to the citizens to let them know if we are going to be able to cover as many residents. But I certainly agree with her, and I thank everyone for the hard work and the learning that I think we've all enjoyed. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I support this.
Thank you for your comments. Is there, outside of our budget committee, is there any other council people that would have any comments? I'm not seeing any. What would be your pleasure for this?
Suspension of the rules, please.
Okay, very good. Motion for suspension of the rules. Is there a second? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Motion carries. So again, we'd like to thank you. We'd like to thank Mr. Stevens for his excellent management for this project because as Councilwoman Fusco and Councilman Fusco and Hardy said, the contract, managing the contract is no easy task, just to put it bluntly. So,
Thank you.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your team too. Thanks, Sean. With no other items before us, this meeting is adjourned.
Our next committee is the Housing and Neighborhood Assistance Committee, and it will begin at 3:30. Those committee members are Fusco, McKittrick, Connor, Garrett, and DeShazier. Again, that's the Housing and Neighborhood Assistance Committee, and it will begin at 3:30.
Ready? Okay. We'll begin the Housing Committee meeting of Akron City Council, Housing and Neighborhood Assistance. I'd like to request that our clerk roll call, please.
Fusco.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Connor. Garrett.
Aye.
DeShazier.
Present.
All committee members are present.
Thank you very much. Don't believe we have anything on our regular list of legislation. We have 3 new items, and I'd like to request, I'd like also that, can I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previously held meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, a lot of enthusiasm. All those in favor to approve those minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, hearing none, they pass as is. Ms. Biviano, would you please read in the first item?
Item number 14 is a resolution approving and confirming the appointments of Barb Waris and Hortense Pryor for 1-year terms ending on February 14th, 2025, Valerie Moss for a 2-year term ending on February 14th, 2026, and Robin Rorich, Michael Howard, and Alyssa Figueroa for 3-year terms ending on February 14th, 2027, to the City of Akron Housing Appeals Board and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Biviano.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and the members of the committee. Thank you so much to all of the council members for supporting us as we think about how to reappoint members to this board. It is a 10-member board, so it proved to be challenging for us because for reasons beyond our control, the board had slipped to a very low number. As you know, from a few months ago, we were able to seat a few members of the board and therefore establish quorum, but it is still a tenuous number to reach quorum. So we would like to seat the additional members of this board so that the Housing Appeals Board, which is essential to the matters, important matters that come before it, essential to the residents, can be seated. Currently, the board, due to your prior appointment, the mayor's prior appointments with your approval, has 4 members on it. Those members represent wards 2, 3, 4, and I'm not quite sure on the 1 member as I don't know their address, but I think it may be Ward 5 or Ward 1, depending. The new members before you today, and you can see the terms listed, are Wards 1, 2 members in Wards 5, 1 in Ward 7, and 2 from Ward 8. We did have some additional suggestions and some resumes that were sent to us, and so we're grateful and will continue to retain those suggestions for future, but are trying to make sure that the boards are increasingly diverse amongst the different wards and different also demographics of and diverse individuals in multiple ways, including by all of the usual that we would expect, racially diverse, from diverse ages, with diverse experiences and backgrounds.
Very good. Thank you so much for your presentation and your patience working with us. In terms of City Council, this is a very important board, of course, as we're all very much aware, and we want to make sure that they're seated and they can do the good work that they do. It's a lot of work, and it's thankless, I believe is the word, and we should thank them probably more than we do, for sure. Questions or comments?
Chair,
Yes, Mr. Garrett?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. What wards are excluded so far in terms of representation?
No wards are excluded, Councilmember Garrett. What we do is we take the best advice we can and the folk who are present at the moment and make sure that there's as much diversity as possible. And we will certainly continue to ensure this legislation does not require certain representation from certain wards, but we always try to ensure that we have as many different wards as possible. Again, the list, and I'm happy to send it to you afterwards, will then have representation from wards 1, if you appoint this list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8.
And so that would be the ones that we didn't have representation, not that we have to. I'm just curious, so if I run across some constituents that are saying, hey, I'd like to play on that board, the wards that aren't represented are Ward 6. Which wards did you have?
Currently 6, 9, and 10.
6, 9, and 10. Okay, thank you on that. Also, last time I know a young lady was coming through, Miss Figueroa. There was a holdup for some reason. Has that, whatever came of that situation?
I would refer that back to the chairperson.
Sure. If you read the legislation, she is going to be appointed for a 3-year term. Excuse me, let me look here.
I believe it's
For
February.
3-year term ending February 14th, 2027. So the questions, the concerns, and were addressed, and now we're appointing Alyssa Figueroa for a 3-year term.
Thank you. So the concerns have been cleared up. I was under the impression that a few constituents reached out to me about how she was treated. And my only concern is that she was made whole or just thought about her as we went through that process. To exclude her that way, that was sort of hard for a few of the constituents that reached out, but I am pleased and satisfied with the new appointment up to 2027, so thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Given the fact that this board needs to get the good work done, I'm going to request a motion for suspension of the rules.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you very much. We'll report that out this evening. Item number 15, Ms. Biviano.
Item number 15 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract with the Renewal Housing Associates, LLC, for the renovation of Collinson Apartments for the provision of affordable housing to low-income individuals in Akron and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Tomic.
Good afternoon, committee chair, committee members. Renewal Housing Associates was awarded low-income housing tax credits for fiscal year 2023 for the renovation of Collinson Apartments. Collinson Apartments is located at 1010 Rosemary Boulevard. It currently has 101 units. This award of these funds will include the rehabilitation of all of those 101 units, including upgrading 10 of those units to become fully accessible units. They are also looking at elevator modernization, restroom renovations in all the common areas, and they would also convert all the restrooms to accessible restrooms. This project would then affect or impact affordability for the rent of those apartments for another 35 years. The total project cost is $15.8 million, and the legislation before you is to provide Renewal Housing Associates with approximately $600,000 of city funds. This would come from the Home Investment Partnership Fund. It would be a loan. The term of those loans would be 0%, and the length of time, we are still trying to work with OFA to determine the length of the loan. On a side note, we worked with Renewal Housing back in 2006 for the renovation of those apartments. We provided them with a $300,000 loan at that time.
Mm-hmm.
For this project, they are going to pay back that $300,000 loan. We will then reissue $300,000 of the paid back funds, plus an additional $300,000 of the home investment partnerships for a new loan amount of $600,000. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
And I would also add that Mr. Kellen Craig from Renewal Associates is also on the call to answer any questions you may have.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Craig, for joining us. Certainly appreciate it. Would you like to make any comments?
No, just thank you for the opportunity. It'll be a great project. Looking forward to keeping it affordable for the next 35 years, and certainly greatly appreciate the city's support and the city staff throughout this process.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you, folks who've worked on this from our side. The elevator piece, is that going to be a total reno? I mean, it seems as though that's something that comes to light often in terms of some of our buildings, is the elevator piece.
It will be a complete modernization. I don't know that it's a complete gut job tear out, but we're definitely, a substantial amount of the funds are going directly to the 2 elevators.
And that seems to be, especially our older buildings, those are the ones that need the attention. So they do have a useful life, and Good to see that investment going forward. Questions or comments from anyone?
I have a question on it.
Mr. Garrett?
Thank you. Thank you, Helen, for that great presentation. As it relates to the $600,000 tax credit, is there an additional $600,000 loan? So then it would be two, or how does that work there?
It is, we are going to enter into an agreement with them, and we will issue a note for $600,000. That will be the new loan amount, is $600,000. So the tax credit, it comes from the Ohio Housing Finance Agency, and I don't remember, that is at the ballpark of, I believe, $8 million. From OFA, our share is the gap financing at $600,000 only.
Okay.
Which will be the home funds, correct?
Correct.
Very good, very good.
And we will be made whole. We will be made whole by HUD when we issue that extra $300,000. HUD will reimburse us.
Very good, very good. Perfect.
Follow-up question, please.
Yes, sir.
So as I'm following along on the capital investment summary, I'd like to take some time, not today, not holding this up, but just to get a better understanding as to how those funds were to flow through. So if we could get together afterwards for explanation, that would be great. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments from committee members? I do see Ms. Mobian's hand up. Uh-oh, I think we lost you, maybe?
No.
Okay.
I'm still here.
All right, good.
Can you hear? Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just curious, Ms. Tomek. Now, I know when those of us who went to the Rosemary area, the apartment buildings that we were concerned about were Erickson and was it Collinson?
It was not Collinson. It was Erickson and I believe the old Wolbeth Arlington. We did reach out to our housing folks to determine if there were any outstanding complaints. And as of today, there are currently 5 cases, but those are related to bed bugs. And Renewal Housing is in the process of actively addressing those issues. But that is all we have. We don't have anything else. So it's not related to Erickson at all.
Okay. So Collinson is this a new project with this contractor?
We contracted with them in 2006 for some rehabilitation work. So that is not new. We have worked with them before.
Okay. And the residents there were fine with the work and no issues or complaints?
Correct. And I believe they had a meeting last week to talk to the residents about this new process of rehabilitation and the steps that will be taken to address their needs during the rehabilitation of their units.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you doing that, sir, because we've had a lot of concerns from about work of other contractors. So hopefully this will move smoothly. Thank you.
Very good. So the entire investment will be $15.8 million. How many units?
101 units.
101. Gotcha. Very good. Further questions or comments? Consent agenda, okay?
That's fine, thank you.
Very good. I'd like to entertain a motion for consent.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Item number 16, Ms. Viviano.
Item number 16 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contractor contracts with Rebuilding Together Northeast Ohio to operate the minor home repair program for FY 2024 and declaring an emergency.
Oh, Mr. Lash, go ahead, please. Another thought entered my mind, but Mr. Lash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. This particular piece of legislation is our annual renewal for our minor home repair program with Rebuilding America. So this is the program year of 2024. Just a renewal. We've been doing this for 10 years.
Very good. Questions or comments? Consent agenda, okay?
Absolutely.
Why, thank you, sir. Thank you. Very good. Recommendation for consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, consent agenda it will be. With that, the Housing and Neighborhood Assistance Committee is adjourned. Thank you all for coming down.
That is the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet in special session at 5 o'clock. Thank you.